I try to get it quite relaxed, and yeah, it's so warm here. It's good to keep it cold and relaxed before the race. But yeah, of course we are too.
You are too, and you've taken pole for tonight's race, Mike starting, and then you, and for tomorrow. So all going well, but practice and qualifying is one thing, racing is another.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially here on the track, which is quite abrasive on the tires. Yeah, we will see how the tires will manage, or we will manage the tires actually. And yeah, I think we found a setup that was quite good on that. We will be quickly fixed if it's good or not. But yeah, the prizes are actually given on the main race, so we will try to get the best out of those two races, and then yeah.
But at the end of the race, you will be a GT racer for the first time. Welcome to the club.
Thanks a lot, mate.
Yeah, Charles Weerts has had a very impressive season in single-seater racing. Some of the success coming in this neck of the woods. He is the UAE Formula 4 champion from the 17-18 winter season with 8 victories for the Dragon Motor Park team. He's also been 5th in the German F4 single-seater championship and 15th for Fritz van Amersfoort's team in the Italian. So it's a real change, real contrast from little single-seaters to big, brutal GT cars.
Yes, it is. But what actually stands out for me is yet again we're seeing youth coming through into GT3 racing, and they just come in. They're naturally fast. They haven't got maybe the years of experience and maybe some of the pitfalls that others have had to experience. But to do the time they did, 2 minutes 01.397 was a pretty impressive lap altogether. Almost half a second quicker than their opposition from Great Britain.
And Chris Froggatt for Great Britain is down on the grid. His car is going to line up second on the grid. Let's hear from him.
Chris Froggatt, front row of the grid. Chris Buncombe just missed out on that pole position, ran a little bit wide. Yeah. But the front row is not a bad place to be starting, and it's a whole new game for you.
Yeah, completely new for me. First time I've done a race with driver changes. First, I've shared a car with someone. I'm not used to that at all, but really excited to get involved with it. And Chris has done a fantastic job being on the front row. So we've got, the best position for this race.
Right, I'm going to drag you back. You mentioned driver changes. You're both called Chris, but you're not the same height, are you?
No. It's quite a significant difference. I think, we practiced it sort of 10, 15 times now, so we've kind of got the swing with it, but there's quite a difference in position with seating, so it's made it a bit tough.
Best of luck. We need to leave.
Yeah, Chris Froggatt's not been racing for many seasons. He was in the Ferrari Challenge in Europe last year. He was 3rd this year, won the championship in the Trofeo Pirelli. He won the AM category, 10 wins. Also did an Italian GT3 race just to play his hand in, and was 4th in the Ferrari World Final. So he specialises in Ferrari 488, but the challenge car, not a GT3 car.
Indeed, but just going back to the issue about the different heights of Chris Buncombe to get through it, is that simply in Audi and WRT, or in most GT cars, I know in the case of the Ferrari, I'm not so sure, they don't have now a seat that you can adjust once you get into it. The reason is principally for safety, so I'm assuming that the taller of the two is having to wrap his legs around as best he can the steering wheel, and probably find himself in a rather uncomfortable position. And on the other hand, Chris Buncombe is going to have to sort of stretch a bit more than he might normally do. But the reason why these seats are no longer actually adjustable from within the car is in the event of an incident, they want a seat that will not move. And that sounds fundamental, but believe me, it can save you a lot of painful injuries if you don't.
There's the Thailand car. Piti Bhirombhakdi and Pasin Lathoris share that. Piti Bhirombhakdi going first. Somebody we're used to seeing in Europe quite a lot in the last couple of years, John, in the Blancpain GT Series Sprint Cup.
Yes, and Pasin Lathoris will be in that car alongside. The car looked pretty difficult in the early practice sessions we had here on Friday morning, struggling for grip, but quite simply, I think what teams have been doing, and up and down the pit lane, they're all saving as much of the 5 sets of tyres they have available for these sessions, these qualifying sessions, as well as for the practice sessions, and then of course principally for the final, which will be on Saturday evening. You want to try and keep as much possible the best of the rest, or even if you can manage a new set, because that's where the championship is going to be won, not in these 2 heats that we get to the final from.
This is really about keeping out of trouble, isn't it? We're going to have 2 formation laps as well for this first qualifying race to enable the drivers to get a proper feel for track condition. It is a very spectacular sight under the floodlights, and the FIA GT Nations Cup, an all-new event, 18 cars as an entry, is pretty good going for your first effort, especially at the end of a long, tough season.
Yes, I think you get to the end of a season, you think by the time you get to October, well, that's time to hang up your boots, your overalls, your helmet. But there are many events around the world, and this has been reintroduced this year. So to get 18 teams in the inaugural event is a good effort. You can imagine that there are many more nations that may well think, well, we've got cars, we've got drivers, we've got teams, we can look forward to 2019, and hopefully there will be an even more full grid when we get to that phase.
Now, picking a winner, and we're really talking about a race win tomorrow, is still some way off, really. You've got some quick drivers, some quick combinations, but who is going to shake out the best? There is Italy, the Ferrari. What else? Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, vastly experienced Italian driver. He will go first, and Matteo Cressoni takes over that car from the 62-year-old Italian. It is run by AF Corsa, and at the 1 minute board, engines fire up and the grid is being cleared. The Sakia Tower floodlit down at turn 1. That is the exit of turn 14, looking down the pit straight in these very, very intense spotlights. And if you go away from the circuit itself, it's absolutely pitch black, but the track itself could not be better lit.
Another factor that's going to come into play is we're now probably at the coolest conditions, ambient-wise and track temperature-wise, that we're going to have over the weekend. So the track is going to change. The character of this racetrack, we know, changes a great deal over the course of a day. Tonight is the first time any of these cars and drivers have been on circuit racing at this time of evening. So they're going in their own mind, in sort of into the dark. They don't know quite what they're going to get. Tyre conservation is an important part of this event. It is a fairly aggressive track surface, so tyre wear, tyre degradation is an issue. But of course, it's not mandatory to make that tyre change. If you so choose to do so, that's your choice. But if you want to run through on the set of tyres, they are more than capable of doing it, as Japan has left lingering a little bit back on the grid. That car, well, it was starting in the back row of the grid anyway, so it can't get any further back.
It will be started by Ken Sito. Every car has 2 drivers. It is mandatory. They've got to be from the same nationality. You can have 2 bronze or a bronze and a silver, and this is the lower graded start stint. So the bronze drivers qualified for this and do the first stint. The silver drivers qualified in Q2, and they will start the second qualifying race. And you can anticipate your bronze driver will start the main race, because you would want to keep your faster driver in case there is a late race safety car, which as ever could make all the difference. So pole position then, Belgium, United Kingdom alongside Mike Dentant and Chris Buncombe line up at the front. Row 2 is Argentina, with Jose Manuel Balbiani doing the driving chores in stint 1, and Turkey, Saleh Yoluc alongside. The third row, Thailand, Piti Beiranbakhti, alongside him for Belarus is Alexander Tulkinitsa Senior, and then on row 4, Sweden, Alexander West in the McLaren, and alongside him is Pier Giuseppe Perezzini's Ferrari, representing Italy. On the 5th row of the grid for Hong Kong is the Nissan of Alex Au, and alongside for Mexico the Ferrari of Martin Fuentes. For Denmark on the 6th row of the grid is another of the Ferraris, this of Johnny Lawson, and a Ferrari for Germany, Alexander Matschel, going back to Ferrari after a year successfully spent in Mercedes. Then on the 7th row you've got France, the Mercedes to be started by Jean-Luc Bobelic, and Russia with the Ferrari of Rinat Salikov alongside. Australia, Stephen Grove joins Sam Brenton. Stephen goes first. And for China, Li Chao's Porsche lines up alongside, both out of the same Herbert Motorsport team. Malaysia, the car, the Audi, run by Alex Young, the ex-Grand Prix driver. It is on the back row of the grid. That car with Zhen Lo taking the first stint, and Ken Sito representing Japan in his Ferrari completes the grid. Those are the 18 nations that are set to do battle. 2 formation laps, remember, before we go racing, and this gives them a chance to just experience what the track is like, what the temperature is like, and get them up to temperature, these tyres, before we go racing.
Yes, and getting up to temperature is something you wouldn't imagine would be a problem. It's still probably about 21, 22 Celsius. Ambient temperature, track temperature will have dropped away, but it just gives everybody that little bit of extra opportunity, that second lap behind the safety car, to get both brakes and tyres up to a range wherein, when they all dive into turn 1, there's not a mass lock-up, and it's sort of like a load of lemmings trying to jump off the cliff. They will hopefully all get through cleanly, and we'll see 18 cars enter and 18 cars exit turn 1.
Now this second formation lap is being shown as counting within the hour. So the clock has started. We should go racing proper at the end of this lap. But of course what that does is take potentially a racing lap out of the first stint.
But will they have to line up as they would have been on the grid, or do they start in single file?
I would think they're going to line them up side by side. I've no evidence for that other than history, but we'll see. Rather than it being a sort of rolling start, restart type affair. Yes, I take your point.
That's so. Having a start like this, I would assume that you would have actually started as they are now on the racetrack, but because of the circumstances here, maybe they will actually line up side by side as they come around sort of turn 13. They're midway through the track now, coming down through turns 6, 7 and 8.
You're on board with Thailand, Piti Bhirombhakdi. He was really struggling with that car through that section of the circuit in free practice, but to get it fifth on the grid was a mighty effort.
Yeah, tyres, my dear boy, tyres. It was simply, they went out on probably the worst set of the 5 sets they have available, and many drivers were struggling for traction particularly, and it is the rear end that will more than likely be the troublesome end of any of these cars if they choose to maybe be a little bit aggressive with the tyre early on in the stint. They were getting an advantage initially, but they might pay the penalty come later.
Now that you're looking at is the exit of turn 10, where lots of people have been getting it wrong. You drop downhill and it tightens and you clatter over the curbs. It's quite easy to make a mistake at that section of the circuit.
So just on the exit, they've got some quite aggressive curbing which has been installed this year to try and preclude what's become a sort of endemic, and that's track abuse, track limits abuse.
Alexander West in the Sweden McLaren. And Alexander, who lives in Hong Kong, has done a lot of racing in Europe as well as in Asia in recent months, so he's not exactly rusty. Whereas 1 or 2 are coming back to racing after a long layoff because you need a bronze driver, so you want a quick bronze. So Mike Dentant, who's not done a full season since 2003, yes, really, suddenly brought back into medal racing, and he plonked it on pole position. Li Chao, China GT regular, is in number 910 or 910, depending on your Porsche preference. And Leo Yi, his co-driver, looking on from the pit lane. So now they're starting to get themselves into that 2x2 Noah's Ark formation, ready for the start. And the second formation lap having counted within the hour.
Already we're down within 3 minutes. The race has been going for 3 minutes. That's the time it's taken to complete this second formation lap. The safety car will peel off shortly and we wait for the lights to go out.
So we'll talk about the nations, perhaps more than drivers, but we will refer back to who's behind the wheel. But on the front of the grid, you've got Belgium versus the United Kingdom. You've got to stay one behind the other, don't forget. Argentina creeping to one side. Now it is go. Is it as they accelerate up towards the line? And the lights go out. They get to the timing line now. Who makes the best start? Belgium on the inside, United Kingdom on the outside line as they drop down towards turn 1. And for the UK, Chris Buncombe tries to brave it out, but he can't quite do it. It's going to be Belgium that goes deep into the corner, and there's contact. The UK gets turned around. Thailand's involved in all of that, and there's mayhem at the first corner because Sweden and Denmark have got involved as well. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Straight away, UK on the back foot. Thailand has been delayed. Denmark badly delayed as well. I reckon we're going to have a safety car because there's a Ferrari stranded. That's the Danish car on the road.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, one has to say the consequence there is that the radiator is damaged. You can see the steam coming from the rear of the car. So everybody tried to be cautious, but of course they weren't being cautious sufficiently enough. Mercedes goes up the inside, goes off track to make that pass. Well, that's going to be France giving it back to Thailand without any hesitation at all. And we'll see the France Mercedes just ahead of the Thailand, still under green racing conditions of Mercedes. Everybody fundamentally struggling for grip.
Safety car. Yep, the boards are there. So we will go safety car. Their confirmation on the graphic. And Piti Bhirombhakdi for Thailand seems to have made a good start, but then there was that inevitable pinch point at turn 1.
Yeah, and it all was went wrong initially because Belgium just overshot the corner, and then Chris Buncombe got tagged from behind. He spun round in the Great Britain Ferrari, and then thereafter was where do you go?
Now, depending on the damage to the UK Ferrari, it's certainly undone all Chris Buncombe's hard work in qualifying, but at least he might get onto the back of the train if the car hasn't suffered too much damage. There was a third car involved in all of that as well. It was Alexander West for Sweden in the McLaren. So at the moment, you've got Belgium leading the way from Turkey. I would offer you up in a second spot as they came through that last shot. So Salah Yoloch in the Mercedes. Where there is Chris Buncombe. He's behind Alexander West. So the car is still going. It's got a little bit of damage, you can see, but Chris Buncombe will be ever so fired up, ready for the restart.
So we're waiting for the safety car to take control there. It is sitting just on the pit lane exit, so everybody, the Ferrari being the Danish Ferrari, that was another car that looked very, very strong. Look at the front splitter on the car completely, the bodywork.
Yeah, and the smoke coming out of the engine.
Yeah, well, that's the radiator it's been at. Look again.
Talk us through it, John.
Well, lights go out any second now, and it is the Belgium Audi leading in. Chris Buncombe on the left-hand side of the track, as you saw it on camera, or right-hand side of the track, left-hand as he's driving down. Very tightly packed as they come in, but here, cool brakes, cool front tires. The Audi overshoots. Buncombe takes the line into the corner, gets tagged from behind by, it was Thailand, in fact, that tagged the back of Buncombe, and then everybody who's on that inside line also becomes involved.
So Alexander West stops to avoid the UK, and then Denmark ploughs into the back of Sweden. There was nowhere for Denmark to go. Johnny Larson, another experienced driver, just nowhere to go, biffs the back of the McLaren, which drives away. The UK Ferrari drives away Chris Buncombe, but Denmark, Johnny Larson, lots of damage, out of the race straight away. So drivers have been telling us, you don't have to be a hero in these qualifying races, you just have to get through, you just have to finish, you just have to get points to get a good grid position. Turn 1, race 1, out the window.
What's new? I mean, we've been around this industry in one form as a race driver or as a broadcaster, and what's new? Every race, it's the same story.
Yeah. It's how many times in a Blancpain GT race have you made the comment that it's a long race, boys, calm down on the first lap.
Well, the difference in a Blancpain event is the event never starts in darkness. We go into darkness, both at Paul Ricard and, of course, in Spa 24, but here we go on board with... So how did he get behind Buncombe? Because he's on the third row of the grid. So he gets up alongside Argentina, move down the inside.
It was a messy start anyway, wasn't it?
It wasn't a great start. Buncombe almost gets ahead of Belgium, and then Belgium overshoots. Buncombe takes his line, and he's just a sitting target for Petit Britain.
So Thailand and Britain, the UK, fall out, and then others take evasive action. There's more mayhem kicking off that Thailand doesn't know about. Biron Bhatti escapes, but I think some accelerated and then had to slow because the leaders didn't accelerate until they got under the light gantry.
Well, maybe they couldn't even see the gantry, I don't know, but certainly what was clear is Biron Bhatti had a really good start, got a good run down into turn 1, but couldn't slow down enough to hit the back of Great Britain. But
I don't think the UK Ferrari of Chris Buncombe was hit by Alexander West, which means he's escaped pretty much all the other damage.
It was the Thailand car, Biron Bhatti, I believe, that was the culprit in this instance.
And that's an expensive demise for Johnny Larson, who is not amused. Right, we're behind the safety car here in Bahrain. It's the FIA GT Nations Cup. It's qualifying race 1. The leader is Belgium, Mike Dentat, at the moment. In second place, it's Hong Kong. Out of nowhere, Alex Au, who was 9th on the grid, is in second place. It shows what being in the right place at the right time can do. So there it is, the Nissan, which on full noise will boom its way past the pits. Third is Turkey, the Mercedes of Salah Yoluch. Fourth is Mexico. That was 10th on the grid, the Ferrari of Martin Fuentes. In 5th place is Argentina, Jose Manuel Barbiani. 6th is Thailand, the Ferrari of Petit Biron Bhatti. Italy is 7th. 8th is France, 9th is Belarus, 10th is Germany, Russia is 11th, China is 12th, Malaysia is 13th, 14th is Australia, Japan is up to 15th, and then after their dramas, 16th Sweden, 17th the UK, and Denmark is out of the race, and Thailand, Petit Biron Bhatti, is under investigation for the turn 1 incident.
Well, he was the one that did tag the back of Great Britain, Chris Buncombe, and the Ferrari. There was no intent. And look, at the start of a race, he'd made a great start down the inside, but he didn't slow down sufficiently. Whether that will be a penalty applied to the Thailand entry or not, that's for the stewards to decide. Let's look again and watch and see. So Biron Bhatti, you can see them, the third car in that lead group, pulls to the right, gets past the Lamborghini of Team Argentina. Here's a head-on view. Chris Buncombe, all on his own, out on the right of picture there, staying well clear of the pack, keeping an eye on what's going on with the lead car. That's the Belgium Audi. Overshoots the corner. Buncombe takes the racing line, which he's fully entitled to do, and Bosch, the Thailand Ferrari, and then of course you got the Danish Ferrari. Just didn't, I don't know whether he was unsighted or whatever, but certainly pretty heavy contact with the back of the Thailand Ferrari.
I mean, there it's a bit messy. Some go. Biron Bakhti accelerates now, but by the time they get to the first corner, Chris Bunkum's out wide in the UK Ferrari. Where is Biron Bakhti meant to go? He can't just disappear, can he?
Well, he can slow down.
Even more, but the risk is people pile in the back of him.
But you have to understand, particularly at the start of a race, you've got to be on your toes, and you're going straight into a corner, but he's got the full car length in effect ahead of the Thailand Ferrari. True. And Chris Bunkum was just, he was mugged, and that's all you can say.
And Chris, don't forget, a Le Mans class winner is not an inexperienced driver, so he's the one that loses out and goes from the outside of the front row into effectively last position. Safety car is in this lap. We'll keep you posted on the Thailand investigation. This is how China's opening lap panned out for Li Chao.
Well, hopefully he was sufficiently far back to see all that clearly. This is actually just under the safety car, so coming to the end of this lap.
Yeah. Now, there's a very frustrated Danish driver in Nicholas Nielsen. Bruce Jones has managed to catch up with him. We are about to go racing. We'll get to the Danish driver very shortly because the green flags fly and qualifying race 1 in the FIA GT Nations Cup is underway. And a great start again by Belgium, so Mike Dentant leads the way. Second is Hong Kong, third is Turkey as they go down towards turn 1. In fourth place it is Mexico, and Fuentes has a look at the inside to get past the Mercedes of Turkey there. Turkey just about keeping on to the place, and lower down the order Germany jumps up the inside of Belarus, so a place gained there by Alexander Matschul against Alexander Talkinitsa. That puts Germany now into 9th place. But a really good effort this by Belgium. Started on pole and a drive-through penalty for Thailand for causing a collision.
Yes, I think that's probably a fair penalty. Not only did he cause the collision, but it ended up indirectly with Denmark out of the race. One might say that was Denmark's own fault. They should have been more alert and aware, but the fact is it was Piti Piranbakti that was the cause of the incident. And look at Chris Bunkum sliding up the inside, sliding around the outside of the China Porsche, and he's making up positions literally by the corner, the straight, the brake zone. He's made up already the best part of 6 positions.
So there's the order, and the United Kingdom Ferrari climbing its way up through the field there. It's got ahead of Malaysia, so 2 places gained on this lap. The next target is Bunkum, goes way wide into turn 10. Don't drop it, Chris. Hopes of a nation rest on your shoulders here. He's got away with it, keeping Malaysia at bay.
The track is an entirely different racetrack to the one that these guys were on when they did their qualifying or when they did their practice sessions earlier today. And Chris Bunkum just found that out coming down into turn 10.
Now we also understand that number 910 Porsche has got a drive-through penalty. It's quickly gone on and off the screen, but without telling us for why. So Belgium leads, and look at the gap that Mike Dentant is pulling. Now there's a real cork in bottle situation here because Hong Kong didn't qualify as well as the cars that it is ahead of, the nations that Hong Kong is keeping at bay. So Turkey, Mexico, Argentina, they're all there stacked up behind.
And remember, we know that the Nissan is unbelievable. The V6 turbocharged engine is probably the most powerful of any in the field, and if he hasn't got a lot of grip, he's got a lot of squirt. And around this racetrack, with everybody struggling to find the sweet spot of the tire in these cooler conditions, it's going to be a battle. Looks, the dives on the inside of Mexico just about gets that deal done. We wait to see the exit. If he can continue, squeeze again with France. Very tight into turn 1. There's a myriad of different lines you can take, but the consequence is it's not who goes in first, it's who comes out of turn 1 first.
Now on track, the battle is on for second, third, fourth. Mexico ahead of Hong Kong. Round the outside goes Turkey. Sally Yolik in the Mercedes for Turkey goes right round the outside of Hong Kong. Alex Howe tries to fight back. They weave their way through turns 5 and 6 and 7. And it is Turkey that goes third. And now Argentina comes up to challenge. So Jose Manuel Balbiani goes for fourth. And that, after a drive-through, is the Porsche of Li Chao back into the race. Still not being told why he's got the drive-through, but at least the car is still circulating.
And the good news is he's got nobody ahead of him. At least he can drive his own race and keep his head down and focus on what he needs to do to try and catch the tail of this group of cars. But he is right now in 17th and last position.
So that drops him to the foot of the order, and Piti Piranbakti, of course, also has served that drive-through.
Yellow flag coming out of turn 10. quite sure what that's for.
There's a little bit of debris on the road. I think it might be a bollard that somebody's just clipped.
It's not a bollard. We've seen drivers get penalties for knocking bollards.
By GT4 terms, yes. Let's see what happens out of all of this. Right now, though, Belgium is building up a commanding lead. Mike Dentown is getting away there. Turkey now doing the chasing. Has fallen back behind the very rapid Mexico Ferrari and Martin Fuentes. So you've got Fuentes second, you've got Jolek third. It's Mexico ahead of Turkey. And bearing in mind that Mexican car was only 10th on the grid, he's had a remarkable run up through the order. Now here's Argentina attacking Hong Kong. Jose Manuel Balbiani onto the back of Alex Zhao. Argentina, the Lamborghini versus the grunt and go Nissan in a straight line. Look at the gap start to stretch and stretch and stretch.
It can only happen under braking, and if the Lamborghini drops a little bit too far behind the Nissan, that's Argentina versus Hong Kong. And you can see that Lamborghini didn't have the straight line speed. Hong Kong managed to secure into turn one that position, but the undercut. So it's going to be tight. Just watch, you'll take your nose off if you stick it too far down the inside. You weren't far enough forward to make that one stick.
Has Argentina not lost some front bodywork as well? As you see Sweden attacking Malaysia there, as Thailand serves the drive-through penalty. But right now Sweden, Alexander West in the McLaren crawling all over the back of Zen Low for Malaysia in the Alex Young team run Audi. This is Thailand ever so slowly down the pit lane.
And you know, if I could redo the start again, maybe I should have just backed out of that 1 second earlier, and that avoided that collision with Great Britain would not have happened.
So that puts Thailand behind China now. There is the UK up the inside of France, and the United Kingdom car tunnels its way past the French entry. And also joining in the mix now, look, is Russia. The two Ferraris lean on each other, but Chris Buncombe is elbows out, coming through like it or lumping.
Yeah, he had track position, and the Russian Ferrari to try and put a pinch onto the Great British Ferrari was asking a lot. Chris Buncombe probably is more fired up. I suspect he's absolutely furious under his helmet because he was an innocent victim in that opening corner skirmish. Or skirmish as well, not a skirmish, a skirmish.
The safety car helped him in a sense by bringing him back onto the train of cars. So the United Kingdom goes through. She is currently 10th, the UK. And you see there France now, Jean-Luc Boberly having fallen back down the order up into 8th has gone. The UK down to 10th has gone France after all of that shuffling. And the next target for the UK is Germany.
Interesting to see, he's got these just a tenth of a second away. There are the two Ferraris that are battling over that 9th position. The momentum currently with Great Britain, Chris Buncombe, but never forget, Rinat Salnikov is no walk at the park, matched par for par and car for car here at the Bahrain circuit. So nothing will be gained down the straight. It's only going to be possibly into corners like turn one here, where you can maybe manage a little bit late braking. You might get a bit of a toe, but the reality is there's not going to be anything massive. Both cars will be more or less matched at top speed.
So Chris Buncombe for the UK, 8th, going after the similar Ferrari from the Rinaldi stable in the hands of Alexander Matschel. There it is, Germany versus the UK. Nose to tail now, the gap between them was 8/10 at the start of the lap. And actually allowing for the fact that the race leader, Belgium, is 9.4 seconds up the road. There's a pretty close train of cars, second and back, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a group, that midfield group are battling away, so we've got Great Britain trying to make that move. And Alexander Matschel in the Germany, there he goes up the inside. Can he make it stick? No, and he's going to be on the outside, so he's going to be squeezed out, so he's got to get out of it, back out of it. Forget about trying to make a pass around the outside of turn 9. Get yourself prepared, get a good run through turn 10, get some alongside. Now it's a race down to turn 11, but you're on the inside. You've got track position. You've taken effectively that position away from Team Germany, and that's thinking while you're racing, not just driving.
Good move that by the UK.
Well worked out, well executed, and in fact Germany tried to come back but made an error and overran, and suddenly the gap, well, that was really nothing at all. It's probably up to about just 0.6 of a second as he goes up through turn 12.
So Chris Buncombe for the UK ahead of Alexander Matschel for Germany. Drivers now getting themselves ready. There is the driver that's going to take over the Turkish entry. That is Ayhan Yuvan. And there a bit of a lock-up from Mexico because now Martin Fuentes is feeling the pressure. The Turkish car, that of Saleh Yoluk, a much improved driver. Saleh is getting closer and closer. Mike Dentat, though, for Belgium is away and gone. The gap is 11 seconds. He's in the class of his own.
I mean, he's running basically almost 2 seconds a lap quicker, a second and a half, as we look and see whether the Turkey Mercedes can do anything, and it does. It gets a better, it's got more corner speed, even in turn one, a low-speed corner, one of the slowest corners on the circuit. You can see the Mercedes had just more mechanical grip than the Ferrari.
And in the background, France is off the road, trying to attack Russia. So that is Jean-Luc Boboli losing out against Renat Salikov. Russia is 9th, and down from 10th now is France. France looked really good at the start of FP2, but it's ebbed away as the day has gone on. So France, she's fading fast, I'm afraid, at the moment. But Jim Plough, when he takes over this car, I'm sure will haul the Mercedes up the order. Right, Belgium, Mexico, Turkey, Hong Kong, Argentina, Italy, UK, Germany, France, Russia is the top 10.
Yes, and that's been maybe the biggest mover of all so far in this race has been Great Britain. Now, but then just under a second from that 6th place was from Team Italy, another Ferrari, Giuseppe Perezzini.
Turkey versus Mexico here. Mexico ahead, Martin Fuentes, another experienced driver, but he's coming under attack very definitely from Turkey, which has a look to the inside line. Can't find a way through as they come now down towards turn 11 I should say, up the hill. And the way that Turkey is going suggests that the move is imminent, but again, thanks to the balanced performance in GT3 racing, it's very difficult to easily find a way past.
And talking about balance, is the balance that the Turkey Mercedes has got that you can see clearly is giving Jolek an opportunity to get close to the back of the Mexico. Is that the putt? I keep seeing that. It's maybe just the way the lights are picking up something in the back, that little putt from time to time. Not a great place to try and make your pass. If you've got performance weight, and use it where you can make sure you can make a pass cleanly. So it may be into turn one. It just depends how close Turkey can stick to the back of the Mexico Ferrari. The Ferrari will be quick in a straight line, but it is the Mercedes that is overall. You can see picking up a small amount of slipstream. Coming into the braking zone, the Mercedes pulls up, tries to get alongside. Ferrari's not going to see. Turkey decides the wiser of it. Good move not to try and force the issue. And there again, this battle that's been going on up the inside. So Great Britain and the Argentine and Hong Kong all battling away. So Britain past Hong Kong, now it's looking at Argentina. So it's all happening, all changing very dramatically. Up into 6th place for Great Britain, 5th for Argentina. Hong Kong was in 4th place, that's been demoted. And again, Buncombe gets past. And look, side by side through turns 5 and 6. City's still, Turkey, not able to do anything with the pace of Team Mexico in the back.
Now we're only a couple of minutes away from the pit window. A pit stop, by the way, line to line is 61 seconds. So it's not as quick as you can. There is a regulation time decided by the stewards that they must adhere to, and if you're short on that, then penalties will come. There for the UK, Chris Buncombe ahead now of Argentina, so that has put the UK, Chris Buncombe, up into 5th place. And Hong Kong, Alex Au now starting to drop back to really where his qualifying position put him.
Yeah, I mean, he was fortuitous getting through turn 1 and coming out in 2nd place, but the pace of the field around him, and we know that the Nissan has been struggling, particularly with traction. It's got a great performance in terms of the V6 engine, but they weren't able to find the balance to get the tyre to work functionally, and they paid the price and go back to this battle for 2nd place. It is Mexico and Martin Fuentes that is having to be defensive, but doing so using his strengths, trying to balance those that the Team Turkey Mercedes has got. Overall, the Ferrari is, well, it's doing a good job. One would have to say that the Mercedes, if it was ahead, I think would pull ahead of the Mexican Ferrari without too much difficulty.
And therefore the lead gap is building all the time. 10 laps are in the book. Mike Dentant for Belgium leads the way. Mexico 2nd, Turkey 3rd in qualifying race 1. The gap is now 14.4 seconds. Turkey again pulls out. Even if you can't make the move, you can try and unsettle the nationality ahead into making a mistake. And look who is 4th. It's the UK, Chris Buncombe. What a drive, what a recovery.
Absolutely stunning. I mean, he did a great job having been knocked in the rear, spun around here, this part of the circuit, turn 1, ended up being stone last, and now up into 4th place and catching.
Makes you wonder what he might have been able to do had he been up with Belgium, or indeed ahead of the Belgian Audi. There, Argentina versus Hong Kong, 5th to 6th. 7th is Germany, 8th is Italy. The two Ferraris, Alexander Maxwell ahead of Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. Germany fending off the Italy car. And there's some very enthusiastic fans here in the stands.
Yeah.
Enjoying life, remarkably, the Mexicans.
Haven't had a lot to be happy about this year, have they?
Well, no, but with the car second at the moment, there's
Absolutely.
something
One
to
of
cheer
fourth
about.
place and catching.
Yeah. So the Mexican fans revelling in this, with Martin Fuentes in second place, keeping Turkey at bay.
Pit lane is open. So nobody we've seen yet. Well, there we go. Hong Kong is China. China. So they're the first, we believe, into the pit for this pit stop. Not quite as stressful sometimes as in other endurance events. And they're not changing tyres, they're just checking the pressures.
Li Chao give way to Liu Yi. 61 seconds line to line. A stunning livery that, the Dragon Tiger fight represented. Pitibir Bakhti for Thailand gives way to Pasin Lathuras.
So it takes out the seat filler, which is the way that teams get around this differential of a taller driver or a shorter driver.
And Jose Manuel Balbiani is due in because cousin Ezequiel Perez Companc, his fellow Argentine representative, is there ready and waiting. The leader has gone by, 11 laps are done, the pit window is open, and now we've got the order shuffling as Turkey comes into the pit lane. Salih Yoluch then comes in to give way to Ayçin Güven.
I think that's a good move on the part of Turkey. Get in early, get the driver, change the pit stop done, go back out again. You weren't able to make any real progress with Mexico. Martin Fuentes was able to defend, so make the pit stop. Start the other sequence possibly maybe earlier than you might have anticipated, but might be a clever move. And the bulk of the field really all piling in.
Yeah.
The car that's staying out is Christopher Buncombe in Team GB or United Kingdom in third place.
See how busy the pit lane is. Oh, the Lamborghini goes straight into the back of the Nissan. What's all that about?
Well, there's the Lamborghini in the right pit. Oh, dear me, that's the end of the race for the Lamborghini.
The car rolled forward. I think it was empty. The car just seemed to go. The front bodywork was missing during the stint. I touched on that in the stint itself, but the car seemed to accelerate. But was there anybody in it? So we need a replay of that just to try and piece it together. Chris Buncombe has done the fastest lap of the race and he could be going even quicker, but the Lamborghini suddenly shot forward into the back of the Nissan.
Well, it wouldn't have accelerated without a driver in it, that's for sure.
Unless somebody clipped him. Oh, well.
We don't know. I mean, the Nissan seemed to be quite wide in the pit lane. Can't understand that we need to maybe see a replay to get a better view of what was the cause, and certainly we saw the effect, but we didn't see the cause.
We'll get a replay, I'm sure, when things have come down in the pit lane. Everybody exiting now. Buncombe has done the best lap. He's on for another good one here because for the UK, that car absolute best in sector one. It's Belgium, Mexico, UK. Now the top three yet to stop. All of those drivers, all of those nationalities.
And I think Team UK has got to keep this car out as long as possible. It's only 3.3 seconds behind second place. Mexico, the Ferrari of Team. Here we go.
Right, so there, look. Out gets
You're quite
Balbiani.
right.
And he's half in, half out. The car suddenly shoots forward. Bang! Well, you're right, John. It doesn't go without a driver in it, but even so.
Well, I mean, I assume that when you stop, you turn the engine off.
Extraordinary.
And that's why we need a pit lane reporter to find out.
Well, I'm sure Bruce will charmingly ask Jose Manuel Balbiani what the actual. We'll try and piece it together. I'd also like a look at the exit of the pit lane from Companc, because I thought he went over the white line, which might incur the wrath of the officials as well.
That definitely will do.
But they'll have a look at that pit stop, because unsafe release, unsafe stop, call it what you will.
Well, I think it was all unsafe.
They'll have a look. Now then, we have done 12 laps, and 17 seconds is the margin between Mike Dentant and Martin Fuentes. In other words, Belgium to Mexico. Both are due a pit stop, and so too is the UK. And look at the way the UK Ferrari now is clawing back the lost time against Mexico. It was 1 second at the start of this lap. They're going to be together by the end of it, surely.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Buncombe was driving the race probably, if not of his life, but certainly an outstanding drive here. After the adversity of being behind, starting the restart of the race at the very rear, he's carved his way up through the field as if his car and he are in a different race altogether.
He's there, ready to strike. Sweden into the pit lane after a torrid first stint for Alexander West and give way to Victor Bouveng. Japan is in as well, but this Ferrari fight is about, I suspect, to reverse itself, because the way that the UK car is going, it's right onto the back of the Squadra Corsa Garage Italia run Ferrari for second place.
Race leader stay. Well, we don't know. He came out to turn 13 down the hill, but he can stay out. Certainly another lap. But we've got the team preparing. WRT are looking after this Belgian entry. Will he be coming in this lap? It looks like they are certainly prepared to see if he made the cut to come back. He is coming into the pit lane, so they could have stayed out longer, but there we see the pass for the lead. Now, what will be the lead of this race?
The UK to the outside of Mexico as they dive down towards turn 14. And it might be that the UK can get the undercut here. Chris Buncombe then in number 93, the Skyback Ferrari, is going to have a go. But is he going to pit? I think he is. He's made his mark, but he will pit to give way to Chris Froggatt. And Argentina is under investigation, inevitably, for the pit stop.
I have to say, that was a no-brainer, that one.
There's the leader. So
first in the pits, now third also coming into the pits.
But with Mexico in the lead.
Nearly a 15-second advantage to what was the leading Belgian Audi. They will come out with a pretty healthy lead moment soon.
Now Chris Froggatt for the UK about to do his first driver change pit stop in anger, as it were. Charles Weert's probably the same, taking over from Mike Dentant. There for AF Corsa is the Team UK car. Belgium in the pits, and away goes the Belgian Audi. Now Turkey has got Arnken Guven at the wheel, and we know he's quick from what he was doing in qualifying and in free practice. So now it's going to be interesting to see where Turkey blends back in. He stopped earlier to get out of traffic.
Well, he hasn't even come into sight coming through turn 14, 15. As Chris Froggatt gets into the Ferrari, gets it rolling, I suspect that was a very strong pit stop right on the button in terms of the length of time for the lead Belgium Audi. There is the Mercedes, which I think will end up in overall net third position, because I would imagine, let's have a look and see where the Great Britain Ferrari is. There it is. So Froggatt is now able to get on the gas. Will he get into turn one ahead of the Mercedes? It's going to be very tight. Does he have to concede? He will. Yes, he does. But whether Froggatt's got the pace. Oh, and the Mercedes overruns. It's a game of dodgems.
Hip and shoulder, and Turkey stays ahead of the UK, but welcome to GT racing, Chris Froggatt. And getting involved with Turkey, so he's lost the place on exit of the pit lane, but he did his level best to fight back as Turkey ran a bit wide at turn one.
Just overran, trying to get ahead of the Great Britain Ferrari, just overran a little bit deep. You can see what's happened with the Great Britain car. That new set of tyres, there's no tyre warmers here in GT3 racing, so the tyres will be at ambient temperature, which is probably about 40 degrees below where they would like to be in operating temperature.
Now this is the on-the-road leader, yet to stop, should be in this time. Mexico, Martin Fuentes then will come in to give way to the very experienced Ricardo Perez de Lara, and in comes Mexico. Where will that car blend back into the race then?
I would imagine it's going to be probably a best third.
Well, can it stay ahead of Turkey would be the question. So it's had clear laps, in it comes, and Ricardo Perez de Lara is ready to take over. A good job done though, that by Mexico, by Martin Fuentes.
Very good, very good.
And a big cheer goes up from the fans on top of their pit bunker. Mexicans getting into this.
They probably don't recognise Great Britain as a white Ferrari. Doesn't sort of work, does it? Not unless you're what do you call him, Chris Evans.
Very job well done by Mexico. The team manager of the Russian Ferrari has to report to the race director after the race. There goes Belgium back into the lead then. So Charles Weert's at the wheel, goes through. And Turkey, I reckon, is going to go second at this rate. It'll go ahead and therefore gain all the pit stops.
It's a little bit wide through 14, but nonetheless, he's going to get ahead of the Mercedes, and he's going to clear the Ferrari and still be in the pit lane. I would think
it's going to be close.
It's going to be, well, there it
goes through.
No,
so,
it's not.
Yeah.
He was masked by the pit wall. He was put on the close side.
Turkey goes second. UK is up to third. So the UK goes ahead.
He may not even make fourth place. He's going to be overtaken before he gets off the speed limit. 4th, 5th, 6th. Well, I'd be lucky to come out in 7th place, because the Russian Ferrari also with warmer tyres. You've got to be really, really careful once you go onto a new set of tyres that you don't over stress and over push.
But why has he lost so much ground in the pits? Was that a really bad pit stop? Where has all that time disappeared?
Well,
to?
we didn't have timing on that car to see where it was. And look again, Italy squeezing. France coming into turn 4. This group of cars, they've all been in, had their pit stops on their tyres.
Can I have your thoughts? A pit stop is 61 seconds, okay, line to line. 61 seconds. That car of Mexico did 78. That is why it has lost time. It was a very bad pit stop.
Well, 78 seconds is an unnecessarily long pit stop. Why? difficult to know. The team would give us a clue, but certainly if you're not on the money at 61 seconds, anything longer than that, you are losing time.
I mean, Turkey's pit stop wasn't good, 1:12, but a bad stop for Mexico. So that's why they've lost so many places now. Sorry, why she has lost so many places, because it was a slow pit stop for Mexico. So the order I'll give you at the end of the lap, but one thing we know, Belgium back into the lead. 25 minutes and counting still to go in FIA GT Cup, a GT Nations Cup qualifying race 1. And it's Belgium ahead then, with Turkey second and the UK third. So Turkey has won on out of the pit stops here, Aynton Guven. And now let's see what his pace is going to be like. But he's got a huge mountain to climb to try and catch up to Belgium. And that ain't going to happen unless the Audi has a problem.
I think the Audi's done and dusted. All it can do is there's a bodywork damage in the left front indeed, and just notice that getting worse now.
Now, after his dramas in the first stint, Chris Buncombe has had time to compose himself. Bruce Jones, our reporter in the pits, has caught up with him. Let's cross to him now.
Chris Buncombe, tough luck. Tell us what happened at the first corner. You went in second and came out last.
Yeah, I mean, you probably had a better view of it than I did. Yeah, it was a real shame. The Audi ran wide as well, and I got up the inside. I thought I was going to get a clean exit, but the next thing I just got punted from behind, I believe by the Thailand car. Spun me round dead last. It's just then a fight back, really.
Now, I think it's safe to say you can recognise every car in the field because you overtook everyone pretty much.
Yeah, it was actually an enjoyable race. Obviously, I'm super frustrated to have gone from second or front of the race to the back, but it was an enjoyable race to fight my way back through. We're now onto the podium, currently P3 with Chris in the car. He's so far doing a great job. The car's been awesome, so fingers crossed if we can stay in a podium position from being dead last, that would be okay.
And there are 2 races tomorrow. Tough luck.
Thanks.
Well, the car is third for the UK. Chris Buncombe walks away, and this was where the damage came from. So Chris Froggatt overtaken by Turkey, which runs wide and then comes back, and there's a nudge, but that's rub on the front left corner. Now the damage getting a little bit worse.
Yeah, you've got to keep an eye because that part of the bodywork, I don't know whether that's near where attachments are, that would keep the, you can see, it's very a good old nudge on that left front. It's just at the forward part of the front guard, but we didn't notice that it was beginning to get a little bit looser as it came through turn 14.
So let's quickly take stock of all of this. There is Belgium in splendid isolation up front. Charles Weerts is the driver. Belgium leads qualifying race 1 in the FIA GT Nations Cup. The car behind is a lap behind. That is Japan, and that is in 16th place. We've got 17 of the 18 starters still circulating. So there's the length of the pit straight and more between Belgium and anybody else. Turkey now in second place here, coming up to the timing line. Turkey second, Aynton Guven is the driver, and 23.4 seconds is this monster gap. Third in the background, look, is the UK Ferrari. Big gap back, up into fourth place now Germany, Nico Bastien. Fifth is Italy. In sixth place it's France, and then seventh we have Russia. In eighth place has dropped Mexico, and it's game on here, look, between, as they drop down towards turn 1, Germany and Italy. This is for fourth place, but Germany keeping Italy at bay. To finish off the top 10, seventh is Russia, eighth Hong Kong, ninth Argentina, and down to 10th is Mexico.
Well, Nico Bastien is somebody with a lot of experience, not necessarily in a Ferrari, having to go a bit defensive coming up to the entry into turn 4. On that last lap, Turkey actually took a little bit of time out of the lead, Belgium, Audi, but it's all academic. The gap is 23.5 seconds, and we've got 21 minutes of this race to go.
Great battle this though, Germany versus Italy, or Rinaldi Racing. Ferrari in the hands of Nico Bastien, who's a Mercedes specialist. He's been put into this car, doesn't really know it, whereas Matteo Cristoni behind him is a Ferrari expert. So Nico Bastien in the green, Germany, Ferrari learning fast here. And behind them, look for France, Jim Clark in the Mercedes is closing up as well. Good battle developing here. This is for 4th, 5th and 6th.
Yeah, Italy just dives down the inside into turn 10, but compromises its exit. So Nico Bastien could have been a little bit quicker getting, but he had nowhere to go because the Italy Ferrari had to stand on its nose to stop to get turned, but up the inside. In the meantime, the France Mercedes looking also to be a part of a three-way battle. Now it's the other way around. Italy gets the advantage out of turn 10 up the hill and through the long sweep into turn 11 and 12.
And France benefits as well. So 1 up and 2 down for Germany. It now means that Italy is 4th, France is 5th, and 6th is Germany. So Nico Bastien losing out in all of that as we've got 20 minutes of the race to go. Matteo Cristoni then is pressing on, but so too is Jim Clark. We said that car was going to be good in the second stint. Here's the evidence of it. Down they come now in towards turn 14. 20 minutes are on the clock, and Belgium still leading the way by a country mile. Germany on the back of France. Here the Ferrari tries to attack Mercedes. Jim Clark keeping Alexander Matschul at bay. So, Mercedes ahead. Can the Ferrari of Germany do anything at all under braking down towards turn 1?
Well, he's going to go on to the outside of the natural racing line. The Mercedes comes back to occupy the bit of turf just ahead of the Germany Mercedes, and Nico Bastian really not very much he's able to do. He's just going to try and follow. Next opportunity, if he wants to be courageous, will be down the inside up into turn 4, the corner they're now approaching. But it's relatively easy to cover a car that it might think about making a move. Then this sequence of corners all the way down through turns 5, 6, 7 down to the tight right-hander at turn 8. Really a very little, unless your name is Chris Bunkum, who managed to overtake and undertake cars on previous through this section of circuit.
And whose co-driver Chris Froggatt is being given a driving standards warning and flag. So is that for the incident against Turkey, or has he done something else? Either way, the UK is being given a driving standards flag, and this is Mexico versus Belarus now. This is for 10th. Ricardo Perez de Lara versus Alexander Talkenica Jr. And so Mexico, after that really good first stint, I'm afraid kiboshed by a poor pit stop and about to be mugged by Belarus here, because Talkenic's on the outside line, Mexico on the inside, Belarus on the outside down towards turn 10. And Talkenic's going to be hung out to dry, isn't he? Yes, he is.
He needs to try and make the undercut. He could have backed off a little earlier and tucked the nose of the Ferrari in much tighter than the looking at the wrong car. So again, it's this ebb and flow. Whoever comes out of one corner on the racing line will have the advantage going into the next one. And you can see that the Belarus car really being forced.
Side by side, and Belarus round the outside. So there is the place gained. Into the top 10 goes Belarus, and Mexico continues to fall down the order. Out of turn 13 they will come, this fast straight down towards the final turn on the lap, and then up towards the timing line. What have we got left? Just under 18 minutes. More news from the race director. Incidents involving Argentina to be investigated after the race. Belgium, Turkey, UK, Italy, France, Germany, the top 6. And this, it's been an incredibly mighty and polished performance by 2 GT rookies for Belgium.
I tell you, they may be rookies, but they're certainly putting on a very impressive job. I mean, they've done everything they can. It was only on that first lap into turn 1 where a slight mistake under braking just overran. We saw what happened. The consequence was that Chris Bunkum and the United Kingdom Ferrari got tagged from behind, but once the Belgium Audi had that lead, he just pulled away almost by a second plus a lap, and then the advantage in the pit stop with the WRT team looking after Team Belgium here this weekend. It was kind of a work that they could to lose this race that they had to try it very hard.
So right now you've got Belgium leading by 24 seconds, give or take a tenth. And although last time that gap went up, the only other car lapping in the 2-3 bracket is Italy. The Ferrari of Italy going through in 4th last time. So the Belgium Audi with nothing around it. It's been pretty lonely, really, since that safety car peeled in.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, because Belgium have done such a good job, both in terms of what the drivers have done on track, but plus a very good pit stop. They've just stolen this race. They've got a very comfortable 24-second advantage, and all they have to do is now cruise to the checkered flag. The only thing that could change is if we have another, full course yellow or a safety car intervention. A safety car intervention would draw the whole field back up, and that might then put a different complexion, because you'd have the Turkey Mercedes-Benz in second place, and that's running at the pace currently of the lead Audi. So that might focus. Sometimes in motorsport they have an entertainment yellow flag. We haven't really gone that way outside of North America. And I wonder whether sometimes is that something that would be interesting to try. Go against enthusiasts.
I was going to say, it depends on the category, doesn't it? This, you're on board with the Sweden McLaren, Victor Bouvang, and he is in 13th place now. Inching up onto the back of Australia, Brenton Grove Jr., and they're coming up towards the completion here of lap number 19 as they head up towards the timing line. Grandstands on one side, the pit boxes and the hospitality on the other, and Alexander West there. The Garage 59 looks on, smiling now, but he wasn't at the first corner after all the commotion that was going on around him. But 13th, not a great result if that's where that car stays, but they'll fight back tomorrow.
Yes, I think it's a car that's got more pace in it than we're seeing. Circumstances have ended up with the car being further down than it would have naturally, with the pace the car has got, I would expect to be.
Australia versus Sweden battle is still on for 12th place. Victor Bouveng, I suspect, will be able to have a go against the Porsche before the very end. Now there, passing Lathouris, who, like Petit Biron-Barty, is somebody we've got used to seeing in European racing. He has been given the really difficult task of hauling that car up from last place. He's yet to catch the Japanese Ferrari of Tommaso Kondo. So after the drive-through penalty and, of course, delays early on in the race, it's not going to be a terribly sparkling result for Thailand out of qualifying race 1. But Lathouris is still charging.
Yeah, I mean, in effect, it's a lap down on the Japan Ferrari, so all you can do is just continue doing what you can do, and that's the best you can do. And I wouldn't anticipate, unless again we've got that yellow flag or safety car intervention, that for passing the forwards there's going to be a lot of opportunity to make further progress.
So there is Lathouris. His last lap was a 2 minutes 5, so he's much, much quicker than the Japan Ferrari that he's catching. And he's a long way back, that's the problem. Lead gap is still over 24 seconds, Belgium to Turkey. And then in third place, the UK dropping back and being caught a little by Italy. So could there be a change for third? There is the UK, there is Italy. Cressoni going through. Don't think Jim Plar's lap times are quite as quick to bring him onto the tail for France of Italy. But third, 5 seconds between them. And on that last lap, over a second faster was Italy than the UK. We could get a change before the end.
Could get a change. Catching and overtaking, two different things. But if you've got the momentum and you know where to make it work for you, then it might well be a tight squeak coming up into the final minutes with Chris Fogart in the United Kingdom Ferrari under great pressure from Italy. And just watching cars exiting out of turn 4. Quite an elevation change considering that this is relatively flat countryside. Oh, look at the dive down the inside, but that's an overtake of the Japan car. It's being lapped by Germany. Japan just stepping aside to avoid getting involved with the battle going on with Germany and Russia right now for 6th and 7th place.
Yeah, Russia is coming into the mix.
Very much so.
Dennis Bulletov is behind the wheel, but a good effort this by Russia. 8th is Argentina, 9th Hong Kong, and 10th Belarus. Certainly been an unpredictable day here in Bahrain, and it's been a quirky kind of race after what happened in the first corner, but there are still some good fights going on, even allowing for Belgium's colossal advantage. Germany and Russia, the two Ferraris, ran out of the same stable at Rinaldi Racing. They're the HB Racing Lamborghini of Argentina behind them. Now, Ezequiel Perez Compact looks quick enough, but he's got this Damocletian investigation hanging over the car at the end of the race, so anything that he gains may be undone. Way out wide, there goes Russia. Dennis Bulletov ahead of Argentina. Can Ezequiel Perez Compact, who gets quicker and quicker year on year, race on race even, can he do anything about Russia ahead of him?
Still love to know what was the cause of the Lamborghini running into the back of the Hong Kong Nissan, and certainly didn't see anything that we could tell was the cause. We saw the effect. But Ezequiel Perez Compact and Argentina Lamborghini runs coming out of turn 14 through 15.
He's really trying, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
There's no argument about that. He is all over the curb, and he's all over the back of Russia. Russia versus Argentina down towards turn 1. Is Argentina close enough to make a move? He thinks he is. Argentina, Ezequiel Perez Compact up the inside of Russia. He will go through on the inside line. Good, clean move. Can he hang on to it? Yes, he can.
Yeah,
Job done.
Dennis Bulletov saw the Lamborghini, saw the Team Argentina car coming down the inside. They'll get back to Sweden. And it's battle currently
With Mexico. So this is 11th and 12th. Victor Bouveng for Sweden. Ricardo Perez de Lara for Mexico on the outside line into turn 1. Turns in. Where's Sweden gone to? There it is.
Well, that's just about where you want to be if you're being pursued, because there was nothing offered up in terms of anywhere you could gain momentum, gain the run off turn 1. Mexico would have been the quicker of the two cars, but well placed by Sweden to not effectively block, but there you can see further down the field. Well, that's they've got the McLaren. Sweden has got the Porsche, the China Porsche between itself now and the Mexico.
BOE Chinese Porsche, and it's Australia. That's Brenton Grove, isn't it?
This is
Australia on a mission. The Groves specialise in Porsches, and Brenton, the quicker out of him and his dad, is doing a grand job. So Australia now then up into 12th, could be 11th before much longer, because Sweden is ahead of Australia. And the Porsche on the back of the McLaren. Not only have we got this great spread of nationalities, a good spread of brands represented in terms of cars on track. Audi in the background for Malaysia. Mitchell Chia at the wheel. And this now, Pazin Lathoris still trying to get himself through the traffic. He's trying to unlap himself against Belarus. You might have seen in Formula 1 what can go wrong if you try to unlap yourself. But Lathoris hard at work, as there, Argentina ahead of Germany now.
Yeah, but not a great exit for Argentina, but maybe good enough to consolidate, because the run down now. Argentina staying well and truly up against the pit wall to leave no opportunity to go down the inside. He'll probably move across. He does move across. Ferrari not close enough on top speed to come into turn one. Just need to be careful that Lamborghini and Argentina don't overrun under braking, and a little bit they kind of just about got away with that without running too so far wide.
Russia, incidentally, being warned about track limit bollards for clipping those, and we've got 9 more minutes of the race to go. Here's the move. Argentina on the inside of Germany, through at turn 14. So Ezequiel Perez Companc, who's been a loyal Lamborghini servant for a couple of seasons, looks to be associating himself with a different brand for the future, moving through on the inside. And this was the earlier pass on the inside. Argentina going ahead of Russia down at turn 1.
Yeah, that was good by Bulletov to not really threaten Argentina, because if he had tried to be more aggressive and block, there could easily have been a contact.
So this is the race leader. Let's tell you who is where. So Belgium leads. Charles Weerts is the driver, and Belgium is away and gone. 24.5 seconds is the margin. Turkey second. Imke Guven is the driver, and it's a solid, safe second place, because barring the drama for Belgium, that car ain't going to catch. In third place, it's the UK. Now, they're being caught, Chris Froggatt and Chris Buncombe, by Matteo Cressoni behind. So the UK third, and there, look, in the background is Italy. It was 5 seconds a couple of laps back. It is now 3. Can they get close enough for Italy to attack? The UK third, and Italy there fourth. Matteo Cressoni is the driver, catching the much less experienced Chris Froggatt. Ferrari 3-4 then. But the UK ahead of Italy, and that could change in the remaining 7.5 minutes. Italy fourth then, up towards the timing line. The gap, 3.068 seconds, is down to 2.2 seconds. The UK is being reeled in, never mind caught, reeled in by Italy. And then in the background there is France. Look, fifth is the Mercedes in the red, white and blue tricolour of France. Jim Pla is at the wheel of the car, started by Jean-Luc Bobelic. And Jim Pla's lap time quicker than the UK, slower than Italy, so he's dropping away from Cressoni in real terms. In 6th place here, Argentina. 7th in the background is Germany. Now, there's another warning for this car about track limits as Argentina bounces over the curb coming out of turn 2 and 3 there. There's the pit stop investigation as well. But for now, 6th Argentina. 7th is Germany. Nico Bastian is the wheel of the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari, and then 8th behind. You'll see the sister car in the hands there briefly of Denis Bulletov. So Germany ahead of Russia, 7th and 8th as they thread their way down now towards turn 8. There is Russia, Denis Bulletov at the wheel of the car, 8th place he runs. And there's a big gap back now to 9th, Andy Yan, TCR Asia ace for Hong Kong in the Nissan. And the top 10 rounded out by Belarus of Alexander Tulkinitsa Jr., who was taken over from his dad. So then the Ferrari still battling. 6 minutes are on the clock. By that time, over 2 minutes. Rest and cycle through. There is Hong Kong going through now in 9th place. 10th is Belarus. There is Thailand down in 17th. 3 laps down. So way up, I'm afraid, delayed in the pits is Thailand. Nissan, though, still doing a pretty strong job. Hong Kong in 9th place here. And the Yam turns up now through turn 11.
Yeah, it doesn't really look as if Hong Kong have been able to fight. I mean, they've got a car which has got great performance, but they just haven't found the balance, they haven't got the grip. And I think a lot of it is down to traction. So they're not finding the benefits that Nissan has got with this Mark II or the Gen 2 version of the GTR.
9th is a pretty good effort from that car. car. 10th is Belarus. Now there's your fight for third. The UK versus Italy, 1.4 seconds. The gaps come down a little bit more. This will be a real test of Chris Froggatt, and with all due respect, do not be surprised if the Italian car gets past relatively easily, because Chris is racing this car for the first time. He's racing here for the first time. He's racing at this level for the first time. And rather than be a hero and get into strife, taking 4th place would not be a bad result.
It would be a great result, but I mean, taking 3rd place would be even better. But of course, the difficulty is we always know you can catch, but can you pass? And with now just under 4.5, or just 4.5 minutes coming up on the clock, effectively it's this lap, one more lap, and possibly a second lap. So it's going to be a difficult moment for Chris Froggatt. He can see in his mirrors that the Italian Ferrari has been catching pretty much, certainly by the lap, if not by the corner. But again, all he has to do is keep his head, essentially, and not allow that pressure to get into his head and force him into doing something, maybe trying to brake a little bit later to maintain the gap. Let the Ferrari of Italy sort itself out, and let the Ferrari of Great Britain continue doing what it's doing. It's been good enough to get up to 2nd place. It's now currently in 3rd. It'll be difficult for Matteo Crosoni to find a way through without it getting a bit messy.
And they keep bearing in mind, hopefully, 2 more races tomorrow, and the second of those is the all-important race where the Nations Cup is going to be awarded. The points scored in races 1 and 2 added together gives you your total for the grid for the final. After that, it's a clean slate and it's the race result. So there, Froggatt just squirming a little bit under, braking down at turn 14. The leader has gone on to lap 26. Time for 2 more laps. Second, Turkey, 24.444 seconds back. Third, the UK, and the gap between the UK and Italy was 1.4. It's down to 1 second now as they go across the line. Crosoni has got 2 more laps to catch Chris Froggatt. If he can hang on to 3rd place here for the UK, Chris Froggatt really would have deserved it.
Yeah, and what Italy is able to do is close up that little bit under braking. There's no difference in straight line performance of the 2 cars, as there isn't with these 2 Rinaldi, the Germany and Russia entry. But it looks like Denis Bulletov might fancy a bit of taking away that 7th place from the sister car, but unable to get it. Nick Sebastian is a bit too worldly and wise to be able to give it up that easily. But look how close Bulletov is. He can't get any closer without really getting into the rear wing of the sister car.
And there, after more hits than Elvis, is the Lamborghini from Argentina. 6th, it still runs on the road. Germany fends off Russia. These Rinaldi racing cars, incidentally, only arrived at the circuit at lunchtime today. They'd been delayed in transit. They were quickly offloaded, hurried through scrutineering, blatted out into free practice 2, and here they are running in 7th and 8th places, which ain't bad going.
I think it's tribute to the team because, down the inside, Bulletov, he was about to make a move into turn 8 and happened out of turn 10.
Comes Italy against the UK. This for 3rd place. Italy on the inside, the UK on the outside. Italy has track position on the inside line, but the UK breaks later. Chris Froggatt for the UK deep into the corner, wide into the corner, and through goes Italy, up into 3rd place. Matteo Crosoni for Italy goes ahead of the UK. Chris Froggatt drops back behind him. There's another lap to run at the end of this, but we've had the change for 3rd place.
Yeah, Froggatt tried all he could for Great Britain to keep the Italy Ferrari behind, but once he got wide on the entry into turn 11, he was going to be on the dirtier part of the racetrack. He just couldn't maintain the pace, and that gave Italy the opportunity to drive off turn 11 and get that 3rd place.
Germany versus Russia is not over, and what fascinates me here is that you can kind of pigeonhole drivers. Now, I know that Nico Bastian has not raced the Ferrari before, but he is being given a real workover here by Denis Bulletov, who's somebody else that's a Mercedes regular. Here you are, you put them on a different playing field of Ferraris, and Bulletov is, to coin a phrase, holding his own. He's doing a very good job for Russia, attacking Germany, and there could be another place change on this last lap.
Well, look, Bastian's having to go defensive, pulls to the right of the racetrack, coming down past the start-finish line. Bulletov thinks about going to the right, gets up alongside, clears Team Germany without any effort whatsoever. It's almost as if you thought that Germany said, look, you're quicker than me, you might have a chance of catching up to Argentina in 6th place. The gap was 4.7 seconds as they came across the line. That's highly unlikely with only 37 seconds of this race remaining. But here is the pass that took Great Britain off the podium in this first of the 2 qualifying events.
Chris Froggatt for the UK breaks as late as he dares, runs a little bit wide over the curb. Thank you very much. Multi grazie, says Matteo Cressoni. For Italy, he goes through. Just going back to Germany, I wonder whether that car's got a problem, because Nico Bastian has been losing places in this stint, and he doesn't normally do that. So the flag is at the ready. Qualifying race 1. Down they come towards the final corner. Belgium on target for the win. The clock is going to hit 0, and so for Belgium, Charles Weerts is at the wheel. He comes then now through the final turn, heading up towards the timing line, and a dominant display by Belgium to win qualifying race 1 in the FIA GT Nations Cup. Charles Weerts and Mike Dentant dominate for Belgium.
Absolutely, just took control, almost losing it in turn 1 on the opening lap, but recovered, and from that point forward there was nobody at the races at the pace that the Belgium Audi was running at.
Now what about Turkey? Up for second place comes Ayhan Guven and Salih Yoluch. A good effort by the two. And Italy right in the last knockings. Matteo Cressoni brings Italy through for third place. Italy, Turkey, Belgium 3-2-1. The UK fourth, but the two Chris's have done a grand job there. For Blighty, over the line goes Italy for third, and the UK fourth. Chris Frogger, for my money, did a pretty decent job in that stint, racing, as I say, at this level, at this circuit, in this car for the first time. That's Mike Dentant, joint race winner for Belgium, and he's a very happy man indeed. Now, what's going on for fifth? France is home, sixth on the road with investigations to come, Argentina, and seventh is Russia, and eighth is, I think, a troubled Germany. Nico Bastian's car was losing pace towards the end of that race, and I'm not convinced all was well. Ninth is going to be Hong Kong, and 10th should be Belarus. And now you've got the Porsches battling amongst themselves. China goes ahead of Australia. They're both run by the same team, but we've just had a change then at the last corner. China ahead of Australia, and that means that Liu Yi will go through the checkered flag in 12th place. Down to 13th is Australia, 11th ahead of them Sweden. Malaysia is on target to be 14th, and there's not much of a Mexican wave, I'm afraid, out of all of this, because a car that was fighting for second place before a very slow pit stop comes home in 15th spot. Mexico 15th, 16th is Japan, and 17th, already having taken the flag 2 laps down, Thailand. So you can't get away from the fact that Belgium absolutely dominated that race.
They mullered it. I mean, the thing that I've learned from this race is that everybody should have learned that when you race at night time, track conditions, no matter how well you think you've warmed up your tyres or your brakes, you need to be even more cautious, because the racetrack is a completely different beast to that you've been running out all through the practice sessions and qualifying sessions that we've enjoyed so far. Come tomorrow, when we get into the final, then hopefully everybody who will be starting in that one final race will be alert to the difficulties and dangers, and maybe we can avoid the kind of almost mayhem. Certainly there was enough of it there to damage one car. Took the Danish car out, Great Britain damaged, spun round, made a great recovery, and passing Lothaurus, or not passing, but Pitty Backley, who was the guilty party. He ended up having a miserable race, as did Thailand, finishing in last 1 or 2 laps down, in fact, on the leader.
So the colourful side of all the flags being waved, and although up until this circuit opening there was no real heritage of motorsport in Bahrain, the Bahrain Motor Federation has created some very enthusiastic fans and officials, marshals particularly important, as well as a national corps of drivers. But here, in the first chance to see the nations go head-to-head, Belgium triumphs from Turkey and Italy, and it does make you wonder what might have happened if we hadn't had those battles between, for example, Hong Kong and Turkey early on, and then Mexico and Turkey towards the end of the opening stint. Well, battle will be renewed tomorrow, because it'll be a very different looking grid with times based on the guys that have just finished that race. In other words, the silver Grady drivers, they go first tomorrow in the first race.
I would like to think that we'll get a cleaner start. I'd like to think that everybody has learned, because it'll be in daylight hours. It's not going to be at night time. It'll be the final that will take place during, again, similar hours to as we see this race starting and finishing. So it's going to be, not to call it a lottery, it'll be a different event. But what is clear, and I think is pretty evident to everybody, is that Belgium have got 2 young chargers who both did outstanding jobs when they had their respective stints, and they've dominated. They won by almost 25 seconds, and they were cruising effectively once they got the lead after the round of pit stops up to around that mid-20 second gap. There was nobody even made any impression, and the second place Mercedes of Turkey it tried and tried and tried and occasionally got under the 24 seconds. But the reality was, any time that Belgium had to react, they were able to do so, and they just stretched back up again.
There's Matteo Cressoni with the AF Corsa team. So for Italy, got the car into third place. And good effort, pushing all the way through, all the way to the very end. But Charles Wirtz and Mike Dantin can quite deservedly take all those plaudits. A tremendous job done. It'll be interesting to see if they are in traffic in races 2 and 3, what their racecraft is like, because out there it's just like a qualifying session.
Well, all they had to do is, well, once they got the lead, I mean, they were driving in clear air all the time. There was no threat or challenge to them at any time. I mean, Turkey had to come from much further back. I mean, a good job indeed by Gauvin to keep the car in second place.
Well, Belgium dominates qualifying race 1. Our 2 winners are with Bruce.
Well, congratulations to Team Belgium. Kicked it off brilliantly. Mike Dantin, you started from pole position. The trouble was behind you, but you still built a lead of 15, 17 seconds before the pit stop.
What should I say? The car was just perfect. I had some fun in the car. I maintained it, and then I left some tires for Charles that he could enjoy it as well.
So, Charles, this GT business looks rather easy for you, doesn't it? First race, first win.
I mean, he did all the job. I just had to go in and drive around. So big shout out to Mike, who managed his first part of the race extremely well. Yeah, as he said, the car was just amazing. So we just have to sit there and drive.
And I think also applause to the team. The pit stop was fantastic.
I think it was just good enough to gain some advantage. Can always be better, but of course it wasn't that bad.
Oh, you're a hard man. Well done to the two of you. Mike and Charles, congratulations.
The point that Bruce makes is worth extrapolating upon, because the pit stop had to be 61 seconds. It was 62. Comfortably better than anybody else's. You can't time it much better than that, really, for fear of being under. So 62 was quicker than anybody else. So not only did they win the race, they also had the best pit stop time. Over at Italy, Giuseppe Perezzini and Matteo Cressoni all smiles with third place. And for second place, Turkey, of course, Ayhan Guven and Saleh Yoluch having already made their way into Parc Fermé. So they're the Italian duo. Turkey, however, taking second in the Mercedes, the Ram Racing Run car. Let's hear from them with Bruce.
Saleh Yoluch and Ayhan Guven, what a great result. Fantastic performance here in Bahrain.
Yeah, we are quite happy with the result, although it could have been a bit better, but next time, I hope, for the next race we have 2 more. So
It must be said you started from 10th and you came through to second. It's not too bad.
no, we started 4th.
Sorry, sports.
Yeah, it's good. It's an improvement, of course, but we can always do one better. So
Well, you've got 2 more races to do it, and talk me through the rest of the run for you.
Yeah, as Salih say, we can win maybe, but anyway, it's a good result to P2 for qualifying race. Yeah, at the start, in the beginning of the race, Salih say really big crash, which is paying us really bad, I think. He make a good save, and then I think that in the pit stop we make a few mistakes maybe, and then after the race it's just controlling the pace, and we are far from the P1 and P3, so just try to save car, and for me also, I try to get used to car in that 30 minutes, so yeah, it's fine, and now we're looking for tomorrow.
Well done. Very good first step. Congratulations, Turkey.
So 4th to 2nd, and therefore 2 points to Turkey, because you take a point for where you finish, and therefore it is the fewest points that puts you at the front of the grid for the main race. We've heard from the winners, we've heard from second. Let's head to Italy next. Matteo Cressoni and Giuseppe Perezzini.
Giuseppe Perezzini, Matteo Cressoni, great run to third place. Quite tricky down at that first corner.
Well, it was terrible. The start was a very confusion. It was at the first corner. It was an accident. I was able to stay out of our contact, and so there was a safety car for 2-3 laps, and I have the possibility to stay in the 4th, 6th position and maintain my position until the change of driver. It was very hard, the race.
It looked very hard. Now, talk about the tyres, Matteo. You still had some in the final few laps because you were still overtaking.
Yes, for sure. Eppe did a great job in the first part to save the tyre as much as possible. for everybody is the same problem, the drop of the tire. But in the end, he saved, and I did honestly my job. I cannot do anything more. But we are really happy for the race 1. We hope to repeat in the race 2 and to be ready for the main race.
Let us see. Gentlemen, congratulations.
Thank you. Complimenting Matteo Cressoni, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, and they, for AF Corsa, take 3rd spot. It was always going to be a quirky kind of a race because of the nature of the drivers and people driving for different teams with different co-drivers with cars they're not familiar with. But for 2 drivers to rock up, effectively new to GT racing, and dominate in that fashion is mighty.
Well, I'd be a bit worried if I was anybody else here this weekend, any other nation than Belgium. I would think, well, these 2 kids have done a great job. I mean, the big difference for the second qualifying race on Saturday is that it will begin at 1:15.
Yeah.
So almost diametrically opposite weather conditions to those we've seen tonight. I would like to think that we won't see some of the maybe unforced errors that we saw, particularly in that opening sequence into turn 1, but you never know.
Every year I get a phone call from a friend of mine that always wants to know the latest quick bronze drivers for future reference, and you've got to say that the likes of Sally York out of that, and also certainly Mike Dentown have got to put themselves on that list, haven't they? Because that's at first stint. I know that there was all sorts of drama going on behind, but even after the safety car, Mike Dentown was able to drive away, build the lead, never put a wheel wrong. Not once did we talk about Belgium locking up or running wide over a curve. It was just seemingly faultless.
Well, that's the benefit of having a lead, and such a lead as they had. You can run at your own pace, you can select your braking points, you can be consistent in doing that. The biggest problem you may face is actually when you come up to lap 1 or 2 of the back markers. There's only 3 cars that were actually a lap down on the race leader, so there wasn't even very much overtaking for the winning Audi to have to deal with.
Just looking further down, I still think there's trouble for Germany. Whether Bruce gets a chance to go and investigate the German Ferrari. Nico Bastian faded for my money. I thought he would have been able to gain places, but that car definitely fell away. And for 4th place, the Chris's. For the UK, Chris Froggatt and Chris Buncombe, they are with Bruce.
I think it's safe to say with the 2 Chris's, Buncombe and Froggatt, that the Team United Kingdom car really drew the cameras through that race, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, unlucky that we had that contact at the first corner, and then it was a fun fight back to kind of the sharp end in my stint. It was unfortunate for Chris that there was some contact at the beginning of his stint, which certainly sort of hindered the performance a bit, but he drove a great stint to bring the car home in 4th. I think we can be pleased, all things considered.
It's certainly something to build from, and Chris Froggatt, I can see the damage on the front of the car, a little bit tattered, but GT3, something you're beginning to like?
Yeah, absolutely. I've really enjoyed my first experience in a race stint in the car, and I look forward to the races tomorrow.
Just tell us, though, tomorrow's final race is in the dark as well. What was it like out on the circuit?
Do you know what? These floodlights are so bright, it didn't feel any different. To me, it felt almost like daylight.
OK, we'll see. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
So Chris Froggatt looking understandably pretty hot. It's great to see Chris Buncombe back racing. You kind of forget that he won LMP2 for Bill Binney's team at Le Mans over a decade ago, but after many years away, he's come back as a bronze driver and a Pro-Am champion in Blockpan GT Series Endurance Cup this year. Belgium wins the qualifying race 1 for the FIA GT Nations Cup from Turkey, Italy on the podium for 3rd. 4th, the United Kingdom ahead of France, Argentina 6th, but being investigated. 7th, Russia, and 8th, Germany, but fell away towards the end. 9th, Hong Kong ahead of Belarus, Sweden 11th after delays at the first corner, China 12th on the last lap from Australia, Malaysia 14th, Mexico as another one that faded in the second stint, and Japan down in 16th ahead of a troubled Thailand with a drive-through penalty and also a delayed pit stop. Don't forget, though, that the China car, 12th in the end, also had to serve a drive-through penalty, so a pretty good recovery. It may only have been for 12th, but even so, not a bad effort at all by Liu Yi and Li Chao. So the minibuses you see on the circuit go to retrieve all the corner workers and to whisk them away from this 5 kilometre long circuit, and we will have a look at the highlights of qualifying race 1 for the FIA GT Nations Cup. It all began with a busy grid under the floodlights, with pole position having gone the way of Belgium. It was an untidy start, with Chris Buncombe for the UK being tapped by Thailand, and there was more mayhem as Sweden had nowhere to go and Denmark piled into the back. The contact evident from on board the Piti Bhirombhakti Thailand car, but with a broken radiator and front damage, safety car deployed said the Danish Ferrari could be retrieved. Green flags flew, race back underway, Belgium leading from Hong Kong, and with the Hong Kong Nissan being the cork in the bottle, so Belgium escaped up the road. For the UK, Chris Buncombe was on his toes, fighting his way back up the order, coming up to attack the German Ferrari. Alexander Matschul at the helm, but Buncombe was irresistible, through on the inside line, as then Renat Salikov was battling with Jean-Luc Bobely. That was Russia moving ahead of France. Another good battle was raging on lower down. Malaysia hunting places, Mitchell Cheer at the wheel of the car, and Mexico getting itself into a brief lead as the pit window opened. The Mexican fans were beside themselves, but there was drama in the pit lane that affected Hong Kong and badly affected Argentina, as the Lamborghini seemed to go on its own. At the end of the pit window, back into the lead went Belgium. Before he got into the car, Charles Weert was busy limbering up to take over from Mike Dentant. As Mexico versus the UK before the pit stops, Chris Buncombe came in to give way to Chris Froggatt, and the Belgian Audi put Charles Weert behind the wheel. Rejoining after the pit stops, the UK Ferrari dropped back behind Turkey, but only just. It was elbows out from Chris Froggatt, who tried to force the issue. Contact, but it wasn't going to get him the place back. So, as Charles Weert continued to dominate the race for Belgium, the Audi pulled clear. Mike Dentant was content to watch that gap build and build to just a gnat under 25 seconds. But there were more battles raging on lower down, as Belarus, for example, came up to attack Mexico. The Ferrari of Mexico was another one that faded in the second stint, and Belarus, in the end, getting itself into the top 10. Turkey was on target for second. Not the result necessarily that was wanted, but Turkey perhaps being fattened up for points for tomorrow on the grid. Argentina making progress late race, first going ahead of Russia, then going ahead of Germany. Ezequiel Perez compact with front damage though was still pressing on for all he was worth. And then we had the change for third place. The battle was on between the UK and Italy, but when the UK Ferrari ran wide, Matteo Cressoni for Italy was through on the inside line, and that gave him third spot. Belgium, however, dominates the FIA GT Nations Cup qualifying race 1. A win for Charles Weert and Mike Dentant, and we look forward to 2 more races tomorrow. Race 1 is at 1:15 local time tomorrow. For now, from Bruce Jones, John Watson and David Addison, it's goodbye from Bahrain.